Today we gather to share words of praise, of honor, of love, of gratitude, as we recall with great affection J. Schonfeld, a beloved son, a beloved brother, a beloved husband, a beloved father, a beloved grandfather, a beloved uncle, and friend to all. Our service always traditionally begins with the recitation of Psalm 23, both in the Hebrew, and then if you want to join The Lord is My Shepherd in the English.
Mizmor leDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar, binot eshe yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenahaleni. Nafshi yeshovev, Nafshi yeshovev, yancheni v'magle tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech begei tzal mavet lo irara ki ata imadi shivtecha umishantecha shivtecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni taroch lefanai shulchan taroch lefanai shulchan taroch lefanai shulchan neged tzorerai Dishanta v'shemen roshi, Dishanta v'shemen roshi, Dishanta v'shemen roshi, Kosi revaya. Ach tov achesed, Yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, Veshavti beveit Adonai, Veshavti beveit Adonai, leorech yamim.
Feel free to join in with me. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
It's difficult to say goodbye to Jay, who was taken from this family too soon. When just days before we talked about his upcoming 80th birthday and another special anniversary with the love of his life, Robbie. Today we recall a truly remarkable man, larger than life, a giant teddy bear who pretended to be tough, but we all know that is furthest from the truth. He always took care of his family, his clients, his friends, and his community. A man who never tooted his own horn, but he lifted us up at B'nai Yeshurun, always inspiring us with his shofar blasts on Rosh Hashanah. Today we send our heartfelt condolences to all of Jay's family, again to the love of his life, Rabbi, to his 3 children and their spouses who were instantly welcomed as his own, Amy and Simon, Jonathan and Kim, Cindy and Michael, and to the diamonds in his crown, the ones that made him the most special title in the world, Grandpa. His grandchildren, Drew, Jonah, Theo, Tali, Spencer, Eli, Sadie, and Charlie. To a sister and brother and their families, to Wendy and Richard, to Alvin and Susan, the adoring nieces and nephews. Jay now returns to his parents and all those who have gone before to their eternal home in heaven. Today we have some very special family tributes. First, we will call up Jay's son, Jonathan.
I promised I'd try to make this less emotional, but I also promised to lose 25 pounds, so. I've thought about this day and this speech many times over the past 7 years. Health-wise, they weren't the best years of my father's life, but somehow we always pulled through. Whether it was lymphoma, sarcoidosis, or losing his eyesight, miraculously, he always stepped up and won. I would like to think that it was him not being ready to leave his family, or even missing out on one more of my mom's great dinners. Either way, we are very fortunate to have had him in our lives as long as we did. Everyone here or watching out there is here because of the impact my father had. Even if you're just comforting my family, my mom, or my sisters, I can guarantee that you met my father at some point, because there was never a time where he wasn't supporting us and having our backs. His greatest gift was being there every step of the way. Growing up, it's easy to take your parents for granted. It's how it's always been, and you don't know any different. It isn't until you age and start becoming them that you realize it wasn't actually as easy as they made it look. Of course, my dad was going to be at every soccer match, baseball, softball, or field hockey game. No, it's not weird that no matter what time of day or what location we were competing at, he would be there on the sidelines cheering us on. It was strange when he wasn't there. That didn't end with my sisters or I. He was aware of every single accomplishment that his grandchildren achieved and told everyone he met about it. Whether it was watching plays or watching plays, he was so proud of his grandchildren. There was very little that prevented him from following them, even if it meant listening to Game Changer during meals or out in public. As someone pointed out to me this week, I not only lost my father, I lost my business partner. If you were to tell me growing up that one day I would have the privilege to work side by side with my dad for 15 years, I would have called you crazy. Back in the day, it wasn't like we actually agreed on much or anything, or came to conclusions that ended up with us sharing a nice cup of hot tea. I am proud to say, though, that these past 15 years have been incredibly peaceful and productive. I would like to think that we both benefited from working together. I got to learn the business, see how to properly handle clients, and really grow. I hope that he felt I helped him grow as well, be able to focus on a few special clients or tasks that he actually liked, as well as take the time off when he wanted to travel, see the grandkids, or recover from whatever illness he was battling. I have to say that I learned a lot from my father. Along with the business side of things, I learned how to become a dad, a husband, a friend, and even a golfer. After looking at his swing for the first time, I knew right then that I was never going to emulate that thing if I ever wanted to get good. That's the funny thing about life. It's not about being a copycat or doing everything the same way as your heroes or mentors, but looking at and appreciating what they do and strive to improve. As I mentioned, he was at every one of our events, and there isn't a time that my sisters and I don't try our hardest to be there for Drew, Jonah, Theo, Tali, Spencer, Eli, Sadie, and Charlie. Every day I saw how much he loved my mom, and I try to show Kim that same kind of love. Of course, having watched him all these years, I try to step it up by actually cooking, cleaning, helping clear the dishes, or actually passing a dish. I have seen how loyal he is to his friends. The gang, the Garsons, Blattners, Schaefers, Wilcox, Hexters, have been his friends for over 60 years. I was fortunate enough recently to have spent a weekend in Chicago with my friends, seeing the band that we have spent the last 31 years following. And I'm not even halfway to the history that they shared. Most holidays, birthdays, and New Year's were spent with this close, tight-knit group of friends. The only thing that would prevent him from Wednesday night dinners with Mickey and Nancy would be something involving a grandchild, and it really be something special. It is a tradition that has survived all these years, and one that I hope will continue to live on with Nancy and my mom. They're also the friends that become family. Who would have thought that when some random couple moved in next door 40-some years ago, they would gain a fourth child and 2 lifelong friends that would be there every step of the way. There's the family you are born with and the family you create, and he always considered the Scherzers family. First and foremost, my dad was a family man. There's nothing he loved more than my mom, my sisters, and I, and his grandchildren. He was a brother and an uncle and took pride in being known as Uncle Meanie. He had a gruff exterior, but he was actually a giant teddy bear. He liked what he liked, and he didn't pretend to like what he didn't. As he would say, he was honest to a fault. There was never a question about what he was thinking because he didn't have a filter. I have been reminded many times these past few days of the laughs at family events, the comments that he would make, or even the dirty and inappropriate jokes he would tell his nieces and nephews in front of his own mother. Deservingly so, my mother gets a lot of credit for creating the warm and welcoming home that they built together. There are very few of you here that did not have a special meal or memory on Sussex Road. While yes, she did most of the work, the two of them created that home together. Life isn't always 50-50 in every aspect, but it is important to have a partner that complements you. The two of them shared a love that was greater as a whole than the individual parts separately. No matter how many times he complained that she invited too many people or made too much food, he still came back and told her how much he loved her. That was the thing about him. Even if he didn't always have the words to tell you, you knew that he loved you. It's my hope that he also knew how much he was loved. There will never be another one like him. And hopefully we all have a little bit of him in us that will continue to grow and be passed on. We love you, Dad.
Our next speakers will be 2 of Jay's grandchildren, Drew and Sadie.
Hi everyone, my name is Sadie. We are all here today to celebrate the life of my grandpa and to mourn his loss. Words cannot express how much my grandpa meant to me. Celebrating Shabbat with him and my grandma every week has always been my favorite tradition. My grandpa cared about his family so much. He was always there to cheer his grandchildren on, whether it was in person or on his phone. Some people may have seen my grandpa as more of a grumpy man, but I saw his loving and warm side. The type of love he had for his family is unconditional. He loved us more than anything, and I will forever cherish the relationship I had with my grandpa. Grandpa, I want to thank you for your endless support and for always believing in me. It truly does mean the world to me. I've always admired your strength, especially at times when your health wasn't the best. You always tried your best to push through, and I'm so proud of you for that. I truly don't know what life is going to look like now that you're gone, but I'm so grateful for the time we had together, and I'm also so grateful for the relationship we have. I love you to the moon and back. Love.
So I have to keep my speech short and sweet, like Grandpa. Grandpa loved his grandkids. He might not have been the most verbally affectionate, and for a man of his size, he gave very light hugs, but he made it obvious through his actions that he loved us, and that's how I'll remember him most. One of the best parts of moving back to America has been being able to see Grandpa so much. Growing up in Australia, it was always a highlight to see Grandma and Grandpa 2 or so times a year, and Grandpa, to his credit, was very good at staying in touch over FaceTime, but it doesn't compare to seeing him monthly in person. I love coming to Grandpa and Grandma's house and sitting next to him at dinner, where he'd remark that there was too much food, but also that it was really good. And I'll admit now, Grandma, that I'm kind of happy you never let me help clean up, because that would mean I could just have extra time with Grandpa just sitting at the table. And since you'd always go to bed so early, I mean, us men would be able to sit on the couch and we watch sports or CSI when all the sports games were done. And we'd chat about sports or college or my career or women or anything else in my life that he was interested in. Because if Grandpa was anything, it was present and invested, and he really cared about us. It gave Grandpa so much happiness to see or hear us succeed. Everyone that knows Grandpa knows that he's a very passionate sports fan, and every time I would come over, I'd be treated to an in-person Sports Center episode, except the host would only focus on the same 3 or 4 athletes, and he had no hair. Which actually sounds like a regular Sports Center episode, but I digress. I'd be regaled with stories of Spencer's 10 strikeout games or Charlie's latest hat trick, and he would beam with pride as he shared them with me. I think he gained so much enjoyment from our sporting successes because God knows he didn't get any from Cleveland or Wisconsin. He also made fun of me for my lack of sporting achievements. Grandma and Grandpa finally came to visit us one time about 8 years ago, and I was so excited for them to finally come watch my basketball game. And then I fouled out with over 12 minutes left in the second half, and he's never let me forget that. Well, I wasn't able to provide sporting success. Grandpa was far more invested in something else of mine, my dating life. A week before I went to Michigan, Grandpa and I were sitting around, and he was asking me if I was hoping to find a girlfriend. Obviously, I said yes. And then for whatever reason, there were 2 pom-poms just sitting on the couch next to him. And he picked them up, and he looked at me, and he said, whenever I'm on a date, I should picture him cheering for me. And then he was just... I have a photo on my phone, just him standing like this, just smiling at the camera, pom-poms in hand. I was laughing this past Thursday evening, just thinking about it. But Grandpa got the final laugh. They came to visit me that winter break, and as they were leaving, he asked me if I needed anything. I told him I can use a little bit of money. I was still waiting for money to transfer from my account, and I had a date the next night. He slipped me a crisp 100 on the condition, and he made sure he's very clear about this, that the girl had to be cute. Anyways, I'm marrying that same girl this December. And even though Grandpa won't be there to walk down the aisle, I know he'll be there in spirit, looking down at us, holding pom-poms and cheering me on. I love you, Grandpa, and we miss you already.
And our final family tribute is from Jay's brother, Elvin.
You may not have noticed, but I'm shorter than that guy. I thought I would honor Jay and his tradition by spilling coffee and food on my shirt this morning. So like everybody said, Jay seemed larger than life. I'm going to talk mostly about our childhood since everybody's talking about current stuff. Jay and I would wrestle a lot, and of course he would always wrestle me to the floor, and because he was so much bigger than me, he would sit on me until I gave up. We used to go fishing in Canada with my dad's friend Julius Nagin and my dad and Jay and I. And my father would make an unusual stop at the Liquor Control Board of Ontario, LCBO, and there he would register himself as deacon of Temple on the Heights. And in that way he could buy Sacramento wine for $1. And so Jay and I would always sit there with the fish, frying the fish, and Julius and my father drinking this religious wine from the Catholic Church. Jay and I went to Hebrew school. We used to call it Temple on the Heights, and now, of course, B'nai Yeshurun. And our attendance was, I don't know how to say it, maybe it was flexible. We would take the bus and change buses at Cedar and Lee, and there was a Royal Castle hamburger place right on the corner there. And that would be the place where we would decide to go to Hebrew school. And so we would sit there, and then when it was time to go home, we would take the bus and go home. And, of course, our parents would say, because they got a call, how was Hebrew school today? And then we had to make an ethical decision. Do we tell the truth, or do we say Hebrew school was fine? And we chose Hebrew school was fine. And immediately we got grounded. So we never learned our lesson, and we were always grounded. But on days that we did not skip Hebrew school, we were in a class with a lady named Sally Malberg, and she was a very strict disciplinarian. And when Jay and I would cut up, which we always did, Sally had a habit of grabbing us by our right ear and pulling us into the hallway where we would be punished for the balance of the Hebrew school. So Jay and I either were full of hamburgers or we were full of sore ears. But we hardly ever went to Hebrew school, it seemed like. We also were in a Jewish organization called AZA, and we wanted to start a new chapter. And so, being creative, Jay decided we wanted to be the very first name on the national roster. So what does he do? We submit the paperwork to the AZA National, and we call ourselves Aardvark AZA, Aadvark, however you spell Aardvark. So they turned that down decidedly, and they said, no, you cannot be Aardvark, that's disrespectful. So what happens then, they said to us, you gotta have something Jewish in the name. So Jay did research, and he came up with this very obscure finance minister from Italy who maybe 100 years ago, Jewish, his name was Luigi Luzzati. And so we said, okay, well, we're going to become Luigi Luzzati AZA. And then National said, well, who the heck is, maybe they didn't say heck, who the heck is Luigi Luzzati? And we said, well, he was a very, very famous finance minister from Italy. And then they couldn't turn us down. He was Jewish, he was famous, at least in some tiny little circle. And so we became Luigi Luzzati AZA. So as everybody alluded to, Jay, had some serious visual problems. And that started many years ago where he had sort of monocular vision. He couldn't tell depth perception and things like that. So Robbie and Jay belonged to this tennis club somewhere out here. And we would have parties there sometimes, and there would be tennis, and I would play tennis with Jay. And I realized that if I hit the ball to Jay's side, he would come back with a kill shot. But if I hit the ball right to him, he couldn't tell where the ball was, and the ball would hit him in the chest. So being the good brother that I was, guess where I hit the ball? So as everybody else said, Jay was gruff, gentle, and kind. He never said, woe is me, or why did this happen to me? He lived his life with grace and humor and love for his entire family. And so what else can I say except, Jay, we love you, we miss you, we honor you. Thank you for being my brother. Rest in peace, and may your memory be a blessing.
Jay was a very wealthy man. I'll tell you how. The rabbis ask Ezehu Ashir, who is a rich man? How is one qualified, defined as wealthy? Their answer isn't about their possessions. The answer isn't about how big their wallet is or their bank account, but it is hasomek bechelko, someone who loves their life, someone who's content, someone who's happy. That was Jay. He loved his life. He was full of life. He had that great smile, a little mischievous, and that twinkle in his eye. He had it till the end. I saw it just days before. Loyal, loving, caring, a mensch, a good guy, a good neshama, incredibly smart, a man who seemed to know everything, always giving great advice, a good listener who asked great follow-up questions, who remembered every detail of what you discussed, and then followed up to check back in. Born here in Cleveland, raised in Shaker Heights, with his brother Alvin and sister Wendy, living with their parents, grandmother, and great aunt, it was a full house and a very close family. Jay attended Ludlow Elementary School, graduating from Shaker High School. Shaker was home for so long, as you heard, and all the Shaker friends. He was even president of the Sussex Association and quoted in a book written about the history of Shaker Heights. You all know the story that Robbie and Jay met on their first day at college, freshman orientation at Wisconsin. It was at a picnic outside their dormitories on the lake path. The girls were sitting all together on one side of the picnic. All the guys were sitting on the other side all together, until Robbie had the smart idea to pull out a football and start throwing it with some of the new girls that she met. Well, the guys quickly jumped in to join the game, and they made it a game. Jay became the coach and the captain of the team, and Robbie was on the same team. He assigned her to be a tackle for him, to protect him. And they've been protecting and caring for each other ever since. It wasn't at that exact moment that they fell in love or even started dating. It happened in their chemistry class, a lot of chemistry. Because of the way their last names went, they were seated basically next to each other, just one student in between. And they hit it off. There was that chemistry. And then, Robbie, you were saying how much you liked his jacket. He gave you his jacket. You wore his jacket. And then he forgot he was in Wisconsin and needed a jacket. So he chased after you, finally getting you, not only getting that jacket, but getting a life together. You were married after 4 years of dating, all throughout college. And you were married in a very small time window before Robbie began her internship and Jay his semester at law school, and going to a Browns game, you told me, because we know what's important. And sort of as life has it, they were married by Rabbi Stanley Schachter, of blessed memory, who was the rabbi so many years later that would be their rabbi here in Cleveland at B'nai Yeshurun. Robbie and Jay shared a loving marriage, a great pair. Raising your children together, traveling and exploring the world together, spending time with your friends, from the beginning going to sports games, whatever games there were, because you just love being together and seeing sports. Robbie, you doted on Jay, and he loved you for it. You literally traveled the world together. You heard how special Jay has been as a father, so involved in your lives at every game. You got to pick which Browns game you would go with your dad. He'd take out the schedule, and then you would have that special Sunday with him, with Dad cheering on the Browns, watching the game through his binoculars, and also peering at the dog pound to see who was having a fight. A proud father, you made him so happy. He burst with pride with all of your accomplishments, like when Cindy got a yellow card playing field hockey. He was very happy about that. But all joking aside, Jay was so proud of each and every one of your accomplishments, and most especially the adults that you become, the partners that you share your life with, and the families that you are raising. You heard about how grandfatherhood, grandparenthood, not changed Jay, but it expanded him. That wealth grew and grew. He was in heaven, and he'd say, if only I could have had grandchildren first. Patient, warm, loving, he was an incredibly proud grandfather that had a special, unique relationship with each of his grandchildren. Jay went to law school, focused on estate planning, and joined his father's business with Grandpa Schonfeld, who actually followed the path of his father as well. You heard how Jonathan has worked alongside Jay for 15 years, and you shared with me, as rough as he seems on the outside, I saw how Jay your dad treated all of his clients. He treated them gently, ensuring their future, setting them on a strong foundation. Judaism was such an important part of Jay's life. You heard all the stories from Alvin about Jay's childhood. I'll share one more story that is sort of evident of Jay. One day, Jay brought sneezing powder to services. And there was a lot of sneezing that followed. And you might know that B'nai Yeshurun has a legendary legacy rabbi, Rabbi Rosenthal, of blessed memory. When Rabbi Rosenthal saw all the sneezing going on, somehow in the entire crowd of B'nai Yeshurun prayers, worshipers, he knew it was Jay. And he called him out. For the last 25 years, I should say first, Jay and Robbie have made B'nai Yeshurun home for so many years. Of course, Jay was third generation, and his grandchildren are fifth generation B'nai Yeshurun members. Jay was president of YPC, our Young People's Club, which was a very high standing of leadership in our congregation, a board member of our congregation for many years, co-chaired the Youth Commission with Robbie, always available for a professional consultation and for advice. And over the last 25 years, he was simply known in our synagogue as one of the key master shofar blowers. Jay inspired us. He lifted our hearts and thoughts. Jay took incredible pride in this honor, honing his craft, starting as a trumpet player. I always felt so honored to be at his side, calling the notes. He always had a very specific role, at least the last few years, during the silent Amida. When no one could hear anything, I'd whisper the notes to him. And that call inspired us at our deepest time of prayer to look inside of ourselves, to strive to be better, and also to recognize the riches and the wealthness that we have right around us. We're going to greatly miss him this year on the Bima and on the holidays, inspiring us, but I can still hear those shofar blasts, and I hope you can too. By the way, he also had a very special talent. He could play On Wisconsin on the shofar. In the community, he served first as board member and then president of Schnurman House, ensuring a vulnerable population housing here in Cleveland, a great mitzvah indeed. He loved visiting the grandkids, whether in Cleveland, Chicago, Australia, or all where everybody is now, or meeting up somewhere else. Those Wednesday night outings to tennis, playing bridge and hanging out with the gang. He loved a casino, loved the Browns and Indians, now Guardians, loved Wisconsin, and he originated the family tradition at the end of the Pesach Seder. Every single person sitting at the table had to sing their school fight song. And somehow, On Wisconsin was always the first one. Just a few months ago, so many of the family members shared a very special Pesach in Arizona. It was a very beautiful holiday together. You shared with me how loud and fun the Seder was, just following Jay's lead. So much so that other tables of families that gathered for Seder, if you've ever been at these Pesach hotels, you know there's table and table and table, and every family gathered together, everyone leading their own Seder. That loud, fun Seder, the second night, was joined by so many other families who asked, "We love your Seder. We were listening. Can we join you?" And guess what? That's Jay. He expanded, his life expanded. He got wealthy and rich for all those that joined him and all the riches that he shared with each and everyone else. Jay was honest, fun, loving, a mensch. That's how we'll always remember him. And for our family, we pray that you'll remember him too, with love. Remember all the joy that he had, how proud he was for each and every one of you. May his name only bring blessings, and we say, Amen. Yehi zichrono baruch. We'll rise now as Cantor Rosenbaum leads us in the El Mali Memorial Prayer.
El Mali Rachamim Shochein Bamromim Amsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina B'ma'alot Kedoshim Utarim Kizar Arakia Mazhirim Et Nishmat Yaakov Moshe Ben Menes Utzipora Shelach Le'olamo Vegan Eden Temenuchato Anna Balarachamim Hasireu Beseiter Kenafecha Le'olamim Utror Bitror HaChaim Et Nishmato Adonai Hu Nachalato V'yanuach B'shalom Al Mishkavo V'nomar Amen.
Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, to the soul of our beloved Yaakov Moshe, J. Schonfeld, who has gone to his eternal home. We ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May he merit the reward for living a life of kindness, of joy, of righteousness. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life, and may he rest in peace. And we say, Amen. Please be seated. Following the service, burial will continue at Chesterland Memorial Park, B'nai Yeshurun's cemetery in Chesterland. And then following the burial, the family will be sitting Shiva at the family home, 3845 Lander Road, Unit 4 in Orange. That's off of Lander. You make a left, and I believe it's technically Pecan Road. The family will be sitting today until 8 p.m. That's Tuesday till 8. Tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday from 2 to 4:30 and 7 to 9. Friday afternoon before Shabbos from 2 to 4:30. Resuming Sunday, 2 to 4:30 and 7 to 9. The family will be holding Shiva services, Minyanim, in the evenings, Tuesday through Thursday and Sunday at 7 p.m., and also morning services, Shacharit, Wednesday at 7:15, Thursday earlier because of Torah reading at 7, Friday back at 7:15, and Sunday at 7:15. The family, it welcomes all to pray with them and to be with them in this difficult time, but does request those that help to ensure that there are 10 men for a male counted minyan, but everyone is welcome to join for that most important service. Families requested donations made to the Joseph and Florence Mandel Jewish Day School or Tor Synagogue, B'nai Yeshurun congregation. May he only be remembered with love.